support. Bob is going to be my tech support. So I want to start by doing a quick review of the agenda. So the next slide, Bob, please. Thank you. So we're going to spend some time talking tonight about leaders and leadership. And then I've set aside about a half an hour to talk about Rotary meetings that you will be involved in and or chairing. And I'm going to share some notes that I took as I was preparing to be club president, and I've called that club president readiness. And July 1st, folks, will be here before you even know it. And then at the end, I'm going to share some reflections from my my time as a president 10 years ago now. It's hard to believe that. The format for tonight, we will have some large group discussion. We will have some large and small group discussion, and then large group sharing. And I am going to share some slides with you. So next slide, please. And this is going to be Bob's first opportunity to put you into breakout rooms. So what I would like you to do for the, no, not yet, Bob, sorry, that's my mistake. We're going to do a large group sharing right now. So let's just talk about what is the role of leaders in Rotary. Just, you know, randomly, you know, unmute yourself, share your ideas. So what is the role of a leader in Rotary from your perspective?
Setting goals.
Okay.
Sorry, can I ask a question, Beth? Are we supposed to see your screen?
You're supposed to see what I just said. I mentioned. You're not seeing that?
No, just see you.
I see it.
I see
I see
the shared screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what am I doing
see it as
wrong?
well.
Have you pinned Beth?
So Bob or Nisi, can you help with that question?
Okay,
Yeah,
so if I
Lisa,
go to
have you-
gallery, I can see everybody.
Okay.
If I go to multi-speaker, I can see you and Beth.
Strange.
I'm
I'm on side by
when
side
somebody
gallery. Try that.
I have gallery, I just see everybody.
Side by side gallery? Yeah?
Not one of my options. Speaker gallery, multi-speaker.
That's really strange.
So
Everybody else.
I see my screen and then I see all of you up above.
Yes.
Yeah, it
that's
could
what
be either way. I've got everybody on the side, but
Yeah, it
it's
could
the
be
same,
up
same
side or
thing.
That's what I've got.
That's
Okay,
really strange.
you know what? Maybe I'll go out and I'll come back in.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Thank
Lisa,
you.
thanks. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Lisa. We'll let you in.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's we heard goal settings. What else is the role of a leader in Rotary?
A
Share your
director?
thoughts.
A director?
Okay. Yeah.
Set a good example for the rest of the club.
That's a good one, Larry.
Facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
Implementing the Rotary Action Plan.
Say again, Mike, for me.
Implementing the Rotary Action Plan.
Okay, good.
Generating enthusiasm among the members.
I recognize that voice. That is Virginia.
Encouraging
Anybody?
people to be involved.
Okay, good one, Doreen.
Membership growth.
Okay.
And then also with the following the policies, procedures, making sure the meetings run.
So somebody started that talking about policies and procedures and making sure meetings run, and that's all I heard. Was there anything else?
Zabina.
There's a
Zabina, you want to? Yeah, there she is.
Yeah, just it's you know, our responsibility being that we fall into that the club becomes our responsibility. We tend to have to make sure that the different policies that Rotary puts, that we try to follow them and guide everyone to follow those kind of processes. you know, with all the training that we've been taking with the dispute resolution, all those sorts of things. So we follow the goals, those sorts of things.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Being a mentor.
Mentor, is that was that you, Marie?
Yep.
Yeah, being a mentor. And that could be to newer Rotarians, experienced Rotarians, people who are new to being on your board of directors. Yeah, so it's a big responsibility to be a mentor to newer Rotarians.
How about listening?
Very good, Mike. That's a good one. What do they say? You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you speak. That's what they say. Anyway.
Also being a friend.
Was that you again, Sabina?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Tell me more. What do you mean by being a friend?
Because being that we see each other, you know, once a week and we know each other for many years, we rely on one another to, you know, maybe personal issues come up or different things come up in the club, and we develop friendships that turn into lifetime friendships, or we feel like we are family for one another.
Good. All right. All right.
Fundraising.
Sorry?
Fundraising.
Yep. Yep. So we all are raising funds to do good work locally and internationally. All right, so let's move on to a motivator. I like that one. Who said that?
Sam.
Sam. Oh, hi, Sam. How are you? Motivating your fellow Rotarians is really important, right? Really key, especially those that, you know, maybe don't say too much. I always say to people, somebody not saying anything doesn't mean they always agree. So you have to motivate them to, you know, speak and share what their thoughts are. All right, we're going to move into slides now where I had mentioned we're going to talk about leaders and leadership. So the first one that I'm going to get Bob to put up, thanks, Bob, really talks about the qualities of a good leader. And some of them you just touched on. But I start with somebody has to be confident to take on the role. That's number one, in my opinion. And there's lots of information on leadership. You can find, these are just happen to be four slides about leadership and leadership excellence that really kind of resonated with me. So starting with a competent individual, someone who's forward looking. We talked. Somebody made a mention of this a minute ago. Someone who's forward looking. Someone who has the objective and ability to create a shared vision. Someone who can inspire and empower people. Somebody who's honest. I mean, we talk about the 4-way test. I think some people, some of us maybe, could do a better job of ensuring that we do that. I'm always very cautious because I wear my pin every day as a reminder that I'm a good Rotarian. But, you know, be honest with people. You know, sometimes the hardest advice to give is the advice that people maybe aren't expecting. But, you know, I always say when I think somebody's not going to like the advice I give them, how honest would you like me to be, right? You don't have to hurt their feelings, but you have to be honest with them. So that's a really important quality of a good leader, in my opinion. Someone who leads by example, and somebody who is positive and willing to lead positive change. So the next slide, please, Bob. So leadership excellence, again, lots of data, lots of information. You can find lots of stuff on leadership excellence. But again, this slide resonated for me. Someone who is capable of setting a positive tone in the organization. That's really key. Someone who has skills in planning and vision. Communication is really valuable, both in written and verbal skills. Somebody who is focused on innovation and change, great decision-making skills, someone who just demonstrates courage and risk, right? If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. If you want to see a different outcome, you have to have a different process. But in order to engage in that, you have to have some courage and be willing to take some risks associated with that. What else have I got here? Someone who's built really good at building relationships, right? In the club, in the community, amongst yourself. That'll be really key for you next year. You know, your present colleagues that you can call or email and just chat with about issues that you may be dealing with that they have or have not, or maybe be dealing with it. And someone who's focused on coaching others, and somebody mentioned that in the first large group sharing, coaching and developing others and providing them with feedback. And then someone who exercises self-management. That is really one of the key attributes to leadership excellence from my perspective. So Bob is going to put you into breakout rooms, and you're going to have 10 minutes. And when you're in this breakout room, I would like you to identify someone who will be the reporter. So we're going to do, you're going to have some time to do a small group discussion. Then we're going to come back and have a large group sharing. I'm going to give you 10 minutes in the breakout room. Next slide, Bob, so they know what they're going to talk about, please. Thank you. And then we'll come back and we'll share what you've talked about. But here's what I would like you to talk about for 10 minutes. Which characteristics of good leaders do you think are the most important, just from the couple of slides I shared, but some of your own perspectives, but most importantly, why? Why? Which characteristics do you think are most important and why? Okay, it's 7:15. We're going to give you 10 minutes in a breakout room, and again, remember to appoint a reporter, and then we'll have a large group sharing for an additional 10 minutes after that. So over to you, Bob. I asked each of you to appoint a reporter. So how many breakout groups did we have, Bob?
Just a minute. Let me go and see. I think it was just quickly. We had 6.
6. Okay. So which group reporter would like to start?
Yeah, I can start. It's Murray.
Thank you, Murray.
So not in any particular order, but certainly one of the things was a shared vision. And when you're leading, you've got to be a very effective communicator. And that includes great listening skills, so you're understanding both sides of a story or a problem. I think being empathetic, but not always sympathetic, but also being diplomatic. One key word that came out was being ethical. Certainly promoting the benefits of Rotary, but really embodying the principles of Rotary. And last but not least, empowering people and making sure you get out of the way so they can do their jobs. And in particular, that's, the directors and their committees.
Okay, good. And what group are you, Murray?
That was group 5.
5, thank you. Okay, who would like to go next?
Group 4 will go next. It's Nancy.
Okay.
So one of the things that we spoke about was flexibility, being flexible. Also managing people's expectations as to people's point of views. We also said that everyone is a leader given the opportunity, and we need to give members leadership opportunities. So you need to step back to encourage someone to step up. The other thing that we also felt was honesty was a big hallmark of a good leader because it shows integrity. And motivation. Motivation, we know, it's a difficult thing right now with what is going on in the world, with what is going on in people's lives. It's hard for people to get motivated to get involved in a project. So if any other members of Group 4, did I forget anything? Please feel free to chime in.
Good job, Nancy.
Good job, Nancy. Okay, let's hear from one of the other groups.
We'll do group 2.
Okay. Thanks, Tess.
Craig brought up almost immediately that you have to be a good communicator. And then I was kind of a bully, and I kind of talked about how that graphic that you had with all the aspects of the leaders, I said communication needs to be in the center. And all of those things relate to being a good communicator. You can't be a self-motivator without being a good communicator. You can't be have strong self-knowledge without being a good communicator. You can't mentor without being a good communicator. So all of those things centered on communication. So that's kind of where I pushed my group to go.
Anybody else from Tessa's group wish to share any thoughts?
No, I think she nailed it.
Okay, let's go to another group.
I can go. It's Marcy from Group 1, and we've come up with a lot of the same words that we've heard already, but I'll just run through the list. So authenticity, competency, resilience, I thought was a really good one because there are a lot of challenges that you'll face as a leader, running your clubs. And so I thought that the resilience was really good. Somebody that has a great amount of integrity and confidence, and somebody who's a great communicator.
Thank you. That's good. So we need to hear from group 3 and 6.
Doreen?
Okay.
Here. Okay, so we came up with 9 things. First one being goal setting and visioning, so that people buy in. Honesty and integrity, and communicating well, so we let them know that we believe in them. Someone who listens, so that people can feel valued. On a motivator, so we get people to get involved. Selfishness, me versus you. So trying to open up the area. Communication, if there's not a good communicator, you need to set an example so members will follow. Accountability, if you're responsible, you set a good example. Acknowledgement and accept a success, celebrate success, help to make a team. And last one was empathy, understanding and supporting awareness.
Thank you for that, Doreen. And then I guess we need to hear from group 6.
We discussed a number of things, but listening was brought up a couple of times, listening to others, motivating your members, sharing a common vision, and understanding the club rules and Rotary rules. And I think listening, motivating, and a common vision all kind of come together as part of encouraging member engagement and interest. And Beth gave us a really great analogy that leaders are like the conductor of an orchestra. So, you're not actually being the one playing, you're not the one playing the instrument, but you're making sure that everybody is moving in the right direction and people are following you. So I think I like visual stuff, so I could relate to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. And the other thing I said, if you're walking down a path and you turn around and nobody's behind you, you're on the wrong path. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so next slide, please, Bob. Next couple of minutes, we're going to talk about leadership styles, and the next 2 slides will reflect just a little bit of information that I found on leadership styles. And again, it's like leadership, there's lots of information on it. So the next slide talks about 4 different kinds of leadership styles, everything from participative to transformational. Do you work to include others? Are you leading through inspiration and enthusiasm? Does your leadership style change according to the situation, or are you more transactional? In other words, you are working more with a system of reward and hierarchical structures. And I think in our professional and lives, and if we look around the world at some of the world leaders, we could probably put some names to each of these different leadership styles, but these are just four. So this is really about helping you when we talk about characteristics of leaders and leadership styles, just to reflect on your own leadership abilities. Are you more into participative? Are you focused on transforming and helping people learn through inspiration and enthusiasm? Next slide, please, Bob. So then there's also the graph or the path, everything from autocratic to democratic and something in between. So are you more of a person that says, I want you to do that? Or more of a person says, well, what do you think we should do? Right? Or are you somebody in between and you say, well, I don't know, what do you think? Should we do this or should we do that? And engaging people to figure out what it is, what's the right style of leadership for the situation and quite frankly for you. So the next 10 minutes, in a minute, I'm going to have Bob put you back into a group. And this time you're going to talk about club president leadership. So next slide, please, Bob. So without naming names in your discussion, I want you to think about your club past presidents. And I want you to share with your group, why was that leader the best? And what seems to be, based on that leadership that you observed, what seems to be the most significant difference between strong and weak leaders in Rotary? So why was that leader the best? And what seems to be the most significant difference between strong and weak leaders? So again, we're going to put you into breakouts for 10 minutes. And again, I'd ask you to assign a reporter. And if you've already done the job, you don't have to put your hand up a second time unless you wish to. So I'm going to have Bob put you back in breakout groups. I'd like you to talk about this. Again, no names, please, but just think about the person and then share your perspective with your colleagues. So we'll give you 10 minutes and then we'll see you at about 7:45.
Okay.
I think Bob left and there's some people still need to be.
Oh, some people aren't. Okay.
Yeah.
Where did he go?
Migmar, did you get a little notice at the bottom that told you to join a breakout room?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Hi, it's Hazem from Belleville.
Yeah, did you get one?
I just logged in and joined because I just finished our budget meeting.
Right, right. Bob
So
has
I
stepped
apologize.
away, so as soon as he comes back, we'll try to get you guys into breakouts. There he is. Bob, we have a couple of members who.
Yeah, we were waiting.
Yeah, if you could just toss them into the lion's den.
Lewison was a wolf. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to room 6.
Okay, excellent. Hazem, did you get one yet?
Yeah, I think everybody's gone except for Sean.
Okay.
And Bob, you can stop recording.
Oh, yeah.
Let me know when they're all back, Bob. Well, I guess I can see it down here. Yeah,
They
it's
should
coming
be
now.
all, but they should be back.
They're coming in now.
I'm going to let Virginia talk for our group if that's okay with everybody.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you found that conversation time beneficial. And now we're going to we'll take 5 or 10 minutes. We'll see how we manage time here for each of the groups. And were there 6 groups again, Bob?
Yep, same groups.
Same groups, okay. So we'll have each group's reporter talk about the answers to the questions. Why was that club past president leader the best, and what seems to be the most significant difference between strong and weak Rotary leaders? So which group would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead.
No, the last time I didn't start taking notes till near the end. So this time I was taking notes from the beginning.
We learned.
Kind of did this a little bit differently. We were talking about qualities in past presidents that we really admire. And only one point did we talk about the opposite. So the first person talked about a president that they really admired had taken a poll or a survey of the club to see how content they were, where they thought the focus should be, what they liked, that sort of thing. And this person felt they really liked that sort of democratic idea and finding out really what people are thinking and how they're feeling. We talked about them. An inspiring leader is someone who lead. This is in a young club, one that's relatively recently formed, leading through uncharted territory, into the unknown. And we branched off a little to talk about how all clubs were doing that to some extent during the pandemic. Another person was really impressed with a leader that went over and above to get to know every member and was really amiable and how important that made people feel. And lastly, we talked about a leader that had goals and worked through them as compared to the next year when the president didn't seem to have goals and work through them, and just how important it was to have a direction.
Great. Thanks, Lisa.
Group 3. It's Sam. One of the members talked about a member or a president rather that could see ahead that the club was behind in technology, and this person saw that enough and realized that the club needed some technology, sourced out people in the club that had that skill, and got the club to transform into having that. And sometimes it was pretty forceful. People didn't see the vision that this person had. Now they think it's great. So that was one of the things. We also talked about presidents that we don't want to be like. There was one that we had an autocratic president that thou shalt do what I tell you to do, and it's sort of a dictator, and that didn't work out very well. Another one said they had a leader that let the people do what they were told to do, or they were tasked to do. They were there to support them, but if you're given a chair of a committee or a director, this person let them do that, and if they needed help, he was always there to support them. One club had a president that was doing everything himself. Again, he would say, "Who wants to do this?" And nobody put the hands. Okay, I'll do it. And that got to be a bit of a, well, what are we doing here? They liked the one that had a president that was very inclusive, had everybody, including everybody, to do what they were asked to do. Another president was hosting. They would get to know the people better by hosting them. And one club had a president that was talked into being president, didn't want to do it, and you could see the whole year just was flat. That's our report. Did I miss anything, guys? Okay.
No.
Sam, one of your comments reminded me of when I was a young program consultant. I was hired to implement a curriculum guideline, and I always remember my superintendent saying to me, "We picked you because you have the skill set and the knowledge. Here's your job. Go ahead and do it. I'm not going to get in your way. Keep me in the loop if you're having problems, and come to me if you need help.
Right.
Right. So identified, pick the right person for the job, said, here's your job, and then got out of the way and let you do your
And
job.
let them do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Sam. So we've heard from groups 6 and 3. Who wants to go next?
I can go for group
Group
1.
4 will go next.
Group 4. Okay.
Okay. So some of the qualities that came through in the presidents that we liked and admired were that very diplomatic, encouraged, pushing what could be next, pushing the club to try new things. They talked about some of the things that we didn't particularly like, that some of the presidents were people pleasers. So, even if they may disagree, it was like, well, if this is going to please the people, let's do it. The other thing that we talked about is, some of the presidents that we've come across could be autocratic, you're going to do as I do as I say, and this is just the law, is what's going to come. But we also spoke about how we can pick up a little something from all the presidents that we've come in contact with. The negative, that's not what we want, but the positives we can combine.
Yeah. Well, and the negatives, Nancy, too, can also resonate with you, or the things you don't want.
Yeah.
As part of your own leadership repertoire, right? Good. Thank you. All right.
Group 1 can go next.
Oh,
okay. Who's going next?
Group 1, I can go for group 1.
All right, Dale, what group are you?
Group 1.
Okay, you're on.
We talked about some examples of strong presidents as well as one example of a weak president. To cover the examples of strong presidents, some of the behaviors were just a frequent presence at events, community events. We've also had examples of presidents that delegated, didn't think that they needed to do everything themselves. There was another example of a president that showed such high integrity that, in fact, it's inspired one of the members in our group that they want to be that type of president now. Another attribute was in trusting others. Once something was delegated, a project was delegated to an individual or committee, just trust them to take it over the finish line. Another was being opening their home to having members come for social events. So it became a club where there was this very charismatic president who opened his home and entertained the other members. So it led to very high morale within the group. Mm-hmm. The one weak example was a president that just allowed anyone to do anything they wanted to do and didn't maintain regular meetings. So there was a breakdown in structure within the club, which led to loss of membership. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a recap.
So some key things that I wrote down, Dale, when you were speaking, and I'll preface it by a comment. You have to recognize we're all volunteers, right? This is a volunteer role that we have, and you said it, Dale, about, you have to identify the key people, delegate responsibilities. You cannot do it all. You can't. So, look at the people that put their hand up, seek others to get them on board. As I said, tell them what their role is. Many of them will already know, but, have a conversation with them. What are their goals? And then let them do the job, right? That's what's really key. All right, we have to hear from 2 and 5.
Okay, 2.
Okay. Is that you, Virginia?
That's me.
Okay.
Yes. We named a number of things that people have already talked about, but I think probably 2 or 3 key ones. One was a leader who's motivational, a president who's motivational and charged up the group.
Mhm.
because of that. Another who was enthusiastic and very positive about things that the sort of things that the people that the club was interested in doing.
My thing is to buy that pack.
And more on the operations, a little bit of a president who had an agenda, circulated it before the meeting, so people came and they knew what was going to be covered. And then not only did that president follow up on the agenda, but followed up on other things that they said they do. So if they said they do it, they do it. And of course, listening came in to play.
Mhm. So integrity is what you're talking about, Virginia. And I always say to people, say what you mean what you say.
Yeah.
Right? Key. Anything else, Virginia?
I think that's it. Now I'm thinking, I have one other thing written here, and I can't
Okay.
remember if it came from my group or the group afterwards. The president who came in, they did a club survey before they came in, just to find out what people in the club were thinking and what they were feeling, what they wanted to do, and that it really sort of got the club off on a good foot.
Good. Thank you. Good points. Thanks. And last but not least, group 5.
I left myself for the last. Hi. Most everything's been covered, but just a couple things. We did talk first about those presidents that were identified that were a little bit weaker. Bully was a term that was used, and just but more focused, I think, around a singular agenda. The president's agenda was driven, which created obviously some issues with the club. But we did talk about those positives. We all find those positives in a good collaborative president and how they can change things. An example with one club is having a strong communicator, and then followed up with a president that was a weaker communicator. You can actually see the difference in the engagement of the club. Same people, engagement level, same goal, same direction, same city, same everything. But the president kind of the poor communication or the communication style really impacted the club's effectiveness.
Great.
Was
Good
brought
point.
up. Really, it is about that leader that is respected and believed in, and creates that environment that people want to be a part of, don't want to miss. And that's probably all that piece that comes out of communication as well. Just looking over my notes. Yeah, leader that sets the tone. But the biggest piece was really about the communication, and that came out of our club.
Great.
Right,
Well,
of our
thank you.
discussion. Sorry.
Thank you, Mark, for that. And thank you, group 5. And thank you for all the groups for your time, your conversation, and your great insights into what makes Rotary leaders the best. All right, we're going to spend the next 30 minutes. So I'm going to have Bob go to the next slide. Now we're going to get into the nuts and bolts stuff, right? We've talked about leadership. We've talked about qualities. We've talked about excellence. We've talked about styles. That's for you to reflect on after the session, and you can identify where it is that you fit best into those different categories. But now I want to spend a half an hour and just talk about and touch on the nuts and bolts, right? Things that you're going to deal with. So in terms of Rotary meetings, obviously you're going to have club meetings. Some of you meet every week. Some of you meet every other week. Some of you meet on a different schedule. Sometimes you meet at the same day and same time. Sometimes you're experimenting with other things. So you've got club meetings that you're going to be responsible for. You're also going to be responsible as the president of your club for club board of directors meetings. And they will happen with the frequency that you as a club has decided. In my experience, it was once a month, but that may or may not be how your club operates. But clearly that's your responsibility as the president, is to run that meeting. You're going to be involved in some club committees. I always say to presidents, you're the ex officio member of all the committees. You can go to any committee meeting anytime, right? And sometimes it's good to go just so you get a pulse on how the committees are progressing, and do they need any, supports or help or whatever. But club committee meetings are going to be another one of those meetings that you will you will be going to. And then obviously, you'll be going to district meetings as you have been with your President-elect learning seminars, and you'll be involved in some regional presidents meetings as well. I want to spend a little bit of time and talk about successful meetings. Next slide, please, Bob. I think the key for me, number one, is determine whether or not you really need a meeting. I just abhor meeting for the sake of meeting. It just drives me crazy. But just determine upfront whether you really need that meeting. And then it's really important, from my perspective, is that you develop and share the agenda well in advance of the meeting, right? People need to know what's going to be discussed, what's going to be decided, what decision items are coming forward. The board needs to know that. And a strategy that a couple of strategies that I used successfully is I asked directors to distribute their reports in advance of the meeting. Right? You are only going to have an hour or an hour and a half board of directors meeting. You cannot afford the time to have every director read or highlight their report, right? You just don't have that. We're all volunteers. That time is really valuable. Use it for conversation, discussion, and decision making. So if you ask the directors to distribute their reports in advance of the meeting, yeah, I would say, I think we met on a Tuesday, so I asked directors to make sure that their reports were distributed by, at the end of Sunday. So people had a day and a bit, 2 days to read them, right? But you also then need to create the expectation with everyone that they review the reports prior to the meeting. And you'll know very, very, very quickly those that have read the reports and those that haven't, right? But you have to create that expectation so that people have read the report and they come forward and they're ready for that discussion, that fruitful discussion, that decision that needs to be made. And they have had a time to read the report and, look at both sides of the issue from their own perspective. The other thing is, I think more and more we need to encourage people to zone out, like make it difficult for them to zone out. Make sure that you encourage participation. You see it, they pull out their phone or they've got their laptop and, they're not really paying too much attention to the conversation. They're interested in their email or whatever. You have to make it difficult to zone out. And you as the president need to set that expectation. You also have to mirror that expectation. But you have to say, folks, we're volunteers. We're going to meet for an hour and a half once a month. We need to come ready to have a conversation, make some decisions, and I need everybody's attention, right? And then I would always say start on time and end on time or early and have fun, right? Have fun. I mean, it's serious. Some things are serious that need to be talked about, but good girl. We're all volunteers, so have fun. Sam, I seen your hand up.
Question, just a question. I don't know anybody else deals with this. What about cell phones at meetings? Do all the clubs allow cell phones at the meeting? I'm not allow is the wrong choice of words, but do you suggest that they're turned off or they're because I agree with Beth that people are sitting on their cell phones and they're zoned out.
So there may be a difference between a club meeting and maybe like a board of directors meeting, Sam.
I was thinking of a board of directors. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think, different people will have different answers. I think from my perspective, what I would say, it's really important that you talk with your board about that and that you create the expectation that people won't be on their cell phones so that you can maximize the conversation time, right? And that they stay engaged. Right now, if there's a family emergency going on and their phone is, we all understand that. But if they're just playing around on their phone, they're not engaged in the conversation. It's really important from my perspective.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm also next slide, please, Bob. I'm also going to share an agenda, but before that, I see another hand up.
It's me,
Sean.
Tess.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, I see two hands up. Sorry.
Okay. You had put down there to get the meeting and reports ahead of time.
Yep.
And look, how do you get a volunteer to do that?
No, that's an expectation you have of directors that they will send their reports to the members of the board of directors, so they have an opportunity to read their report prior to the directors meeting.
How do you make sure that happens?
You make it an expectation, Tess. You just say, guys, we have an hour and a half of a board of directors meeting. We're going to maximize the talk time we have. So please distribute your reports and a day at a time, and have an opportunity, make sure you have an opportunity to read them before you come to the meeting, so that we aren't spending time, reading your report.
Okay.
And I see
Give it a shot.
another hand that says SNCO.
It's Sean. Sorry, that's
Hi, Sean. That's okay.
So you mentioned for team meetings or board meetings, first we should establish whether or not there's a need for a meeting, right?
Yeah.
And I completely agree with that perspective, but I know for a fact that my club specifically, I would say a good 75% of the members see the meeting, whether it's a board meeting or a club meeting, as kind of a social event just to get out and get to know each other, talk to each other, just to get out of the house, right?
But I see those two meetings as very different, Sean. I mean, I see the social component for club meetings, but I mean, from my perspective, your board of directors meeting is more of a business focus, right? You only have an hour and a half. Sure, there can be a social time ahead of time, and I know some presidents in the club that I'm in have from time to time held it at somebody's house, and they've had a little social time before or after. But when it comes to a board of directors meeting, it should be, pretty business-like, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So my only question is that since I've been elected to be the president, I didn't choose this, right? I was chosen, right?
Right.
So I would want it to be a lot more efficient and
Right.
Technologically advanced and
Right.
and brief, right? But that will rub a lot of the members the wrong way.
So
So
you're going to have to hear what they have to say. You're going to have to share what your expectations are, and then you're going to have to find the middle of the road. You're going to have to find a path forward.
So I should still voice my opinion regardless of how it might make members feel, is what you're saying.
Well, I think you have a responsibility. You're going to be the president, but part, Sean, is the message, but also part of it is the
delivery,
how you deliver the message.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I
And
want to move
Sean,
on because we've only
can
had 20 minutes left. I'm going to move forward. So I do have a slide here, and it will be in the recorded recording. Just a sample agenda, right? You call your meeting to order. You ask if there are any conflicts of interest that need to be declared, and then you work through a very business-like agenda. Approval of the agenda, approval of the last minute meetings, any items that arise from the reports, because everybody's already read the reports, right? So are there any items arising that need to be discussed and decided? Is there any new business that need to be discussed? And then you adjourn the meeting and let everybody know when the next meeting is. Right? Very business-like. And once you start to have that rhythm, people get to understand how the meetings will be run. All right, we're going to move on and talk about president readiness. I know you're all anxious to hear all my thoughts that I had when I was getting ready to be president, and you may feel free to use this example or add to it, but in your president-elect year, so this year, you're confirming those people who put their hand up for you last year to be your vice chair of committees, to confirm that they're going to move forward and be your chair, right? So in the VP year, you say to somebody, Beth, would you mind taking on that committee? And I'd say, oh yeah, no problem. And then you want to confirm with me that I'm going to do that, right? So that's really, really important. And if you miss that opportunity when you're vice president, or if that particular role doesn't exist in your club structure, now's the time to get that all organized, right? Some clubs have lots of committees, some clubs have smaller number of committees, but your committees are going to do the work during the Rotary year. So you need to have that all. And I would also offer advice, and I offered this to my district governor colleagues when I was mentoring a couple of them. The more you get done before the year starts, the better off you'll be. Otherwise, you'll end up chasing your tail. Get it done so you're ready to rock and roll, okay? You're already attending the PELS. You probably have already gone or will be going to the grant management seminar. Now, probably March is probably a wee bit too early, but April's not going to be too early to invite the newer directors who are coming on the board of directors, invite them to a meeting so that they can see how the meeting runs, and they get a good sense of, how things operate. You're going to want to work the current board and the incoming board to develop goals for the upcoming year. Club treasurers are going to be anxious to sit down with you and develop a budget for next year. And those are going to involve some input from your committees that are going to raise funds and need to spend funds. And some clubs, mine and Sam's club, have as a presentation the first day, the first Rotary meeting. It's almost like a mini classification talk. They want to know about you, right? So start on that presentation now. Do not wait. It takes a lot more time than you think. And you just envision that you are the program for the day. You are introducing to the club who you are. You can talk about goals for the upcoming year. Just some nice things about you that they may not know. But it's a nice way to introduce you to your club at the beginning of the Rotary year. But please start now. If you wait, you'll be behind the 8 ball. Next slide, please, Bob. So some district things that will be coming up. I don't know how many of you have attended RLI, but if you haven't done a Rotary Leadership Institute, please do so. It's really important for you to have a depth and breadth of understanding what Rotary is, and encourage your members of the board, your board members, and your committee chairs to do it as well. Fran Taylor, you get the emails from Fran inviting you to RLI 1, 2, or 3. Invest the time. It'll help you have a depth and a breadth of understanding of Rotary. District Assembly you'll be going to, and again, don't go alone. Take your incoming board. There's always sessions for board members to learn more about Rotary in general and Rotary specific to the district. And the district conference is always a great opportunity to get to know Rotarians and to get to know more about Rotary at the district level. Just different district governors do it differently, but if Liz isn't going to provide pins and a banner, then get your secretary to order those now, okay? It's nice, we're into pins. We like pins, and the banner's always nice to hang up. And I think it's really key to meet with your incoming committee chairs regarding goals for that particular committee. That may be something you want to do in concert with your treasurer, so the treasurer has a good understanding of how much money that committee is going to raise and how much that committee is going to need for local and international projects. And you really need to encourage club members to sign up for committees. When I mentor new Rotarians to our club, I help them pick at least 2 committees, and I help them pick committees where they're going to get to know Rotarians in the club, and Rotarians in the club are going to get to know them, right? They might have a specific interest in a fundraiser or a project. That's fine, but help them to kind of navigate that, right? In our club, when you sponsor somebody, you kind of take them under your wing for the first 6 months. You sit with them, you move them around the room, because we all have a tendency to sit in the same seat every week, and you want them to move around, and help them to get to know people. Because if they don't, they feel left out, And if they keep feeling left out, my experience is they stop coming, right? And then I would encourage you to complete your club calendar of events to help you as a guide what's going to happen on a weekly and monthly basis. And you may do that in concert with the program committee chair, who will tell you, you know, we have this lined up for, you know, July, and this person's coming in this date in September. But it's really important to have a calendar to guide you so you know what's happening all the time. All right, I'm going to share some reflections now. So on to the next slide, please, Bob. Number one, you will make a difference as a club president. Decide now what you want your legacy to be. Don't wait. Begin planning for a successful year. What do you want your Rotary members to, I don't know, what do they want to experience this year? I mean, do they want more social? Do they want less social? Do they want to experiment with different club meeting times? Find out what they want, right? Have goals, but be flexible. But you also have to monitor those goals to see that you're making some progress. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but you need to lead your board, your team, with positive energy and passion, right? Positive energy is catching. Be positive, they'll be positive, right? And we said it earlier, I think it was Sean said, capitalize on what you're good at, empower others, and delegate. You cannot run this club on your own for a year, right? You need to identify the people that are going to help the club move forward for a year. You know what you're good at. You know what some other club members are good at. Tap them on the shoulder, empower them, and delegate it. Delegate it and get out of their way. Let them do it. But don't forget to thank them too, right? It's really important to say, thank you for a good job there. Thank you for a great job. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. However you want to say it, but thank people, right? We all like to be thanked for doing a good job. Next slide, please, Bob. Oh, not that one. One before. Thank you. More and more, I believe that this is really, really key. We need to show our community that Rotary is relevant. People know about Rotary. They're curious about Rotary, but we need to show that we have relevance. It could be a fundraising event. It can be a particular project that we're involved in. It could be, you know, the Great Lakes waterfront cleanup, right? But we need to show our community that Rotary is relevant. It's important that you plan meetings that are informative and fun. And Sam's in the Rotary Club of Coburg with me, and he and I sit on the social committee. So Sam's really good at planning fun meetings, right? Our Valentine's Day meeting was fun, and everybody was having a good time and laughing. But yeah, fun, right? I think the three next things that I'm going to say are really, really paramount to Rotary, and it goes back to relevance. But we have to focus on membership attraction, membership engagement, and membership retention. We can attract, but if we don't engage, we won't retain. If we attract and we don't engage, then, you know, we're going to be in a declining enrollment situation. I also believe it's really important that you communicate on a weekly basis with your club members. There was a former club president who said to me long before I was in the queue to be president, when you're president, I think on Wednesday, you should send out an email to everybody in the club and, you know, thank them for something, tell them what's upcoming, and tell them what the meeting is going to be about this Friday. Because they may have a friend who's kind of interested in Rotary, but turns out that that person is really interested in that speaker and that topic. And that encourages that member to bring that person in to the meeting, right? I see that, you know, our current president, every Wednesday, there's still an email that comes out, says what happened last week, what's going to happen this week, what's upcoming. It's really important that you dialogue and communicate with club members so that they know what's happening. The next one is really key, and I gave this advice to a past president who has thanked me more than once. If a problem arises, deal with it immediately. Don't ignore it. Don't let it fester. And you don't have to solve the problem on your own. You know, gather some of your team members to help you, if only in dialogue, right? But you know, if you get a problem, deal with it. Otherwise, it just has the potential to really disrupt your year, and it could sour some people, and maybe even in yourself. So I offer you to say, if you have a problem, deal with it, right? You need to make the coming year memorable for you, for your club members, and your community. And as I started off saying earlier, my first point, you will make a difference. Plan now what you want that difference to be as you are Rotary Club president and the president of your Rotary Club. All right, Bob, we're going to go to that slide you put up there a minute ago. Thank you very much. So just in summary, just some thoughts I have in terms of, you know, leadership and good leadership requires thought and planning, preparation, you know, a willingness to try something new. You don't always need to be bound by the past, and you have to have confidence to take some risk, to try something new and different. As I said earlier, you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. If you want something different, try something new, right? Put your toe in the water. Make an informed decision. I used to say to the principals with whom I worked, make a decision, make an informed decision. If you need help making a decision, call me, but make a decision. Don't wallow, right? Just get in there and have fun. I mean, as I said earlier, we're all volunteers, right? We're volunteers. So we have about 5 minutes by my computer clock. Does anyone have a question they might ask? Would like to ask? And you already said, you already heard me say, I start on time and I end on time. So in 5 minutes, Bob is going to like disconnect us.
Beth, can I ask a question that's sort of to do with leadership, but it's something that I'm dealing with right now?
Who's asking the question?
Lisa
Okay,
from
hi,
Toronto,
Lisa.
Eglinton.
Yep. Okay.
We have a situation where we need a group of people, somebody to step up to organize something. And there are lots of good reasons why people are not able to step up, but if nobody steps up, are we within our rights to say, yes, okay, well, we just won't do it? Is this an indication of, like, I don't want to sound like we're making an ultimatum, but if nobody can organize it, then it can't happen. And what I'm talking about is some of our weekly meetings, because the way we structure who organizes them, I'm sort of at a loss. So I throw this out.
Okay, so my initial thought, so at first when you started the question, I thought, oh, was she talking about a fundraiser? But you know, you're talking about meetings. You know, I think, Lisa, you have to gather a small group of people and have the conversation and just say, okay, what is it that we're dealing with? And how can we deal with it? As I said earlier, you cannot solve all the problems. You're not going to be able to do that, right? So gather a group of people, a varied group of people. As I say to others, when I'm looking to pull a group together, I don't want like-minded people. I want people who think differently than me, right? Because they bring different perspectives and different thoughts. And you know, you may have to have a club forum. You may have to have a club forum where you bring the issue forward and you talk about it and you problem solve together. You know, it may you may have to have a club forum. You may have to have a club forum where you bring the issue forward and you talk about it and you talk about it and you problem solve together. And you talk about it and you problem solve together. And you talk about it 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 and you tal that help?
Okay. Yeah, no, that is helpful. I have been doing that, but yeah, it's
Well, and you know, sometimes Lisa, when you're not making any progress, then maybe the answer is we're barking up the wrong tree.
yeah.
To put it kindly,
Beth,
right?
Beth,
Yes, Basil?
when you were president,
Yes.
in reflection, what would you do differently today?
What would I do differently today? You know what, Basil? I really can't think of anything. And I will tell you, I only had one snarky email the whole year I was president. And I think if that person had waited 24 hours, that person wouldn't have sent it to me.
How did you deal with it?
I reached out to the person and thanked them for sharing their thoughts, and that when they were ready, I would be happy to sit down and chat with them. And they never did.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of resolved itself, Basil, right? Kind of resolved itself because I knew the person very well, and I knew the situation, and I truly believed that, as I said, had that person waited 24 hours, and that would be a good piece of advice I offer all of you, right? First of all, pick up the phone, right? Talk to somebody. But if you have to respond in email and you think, oh, I don't know that they're going to really respond well to this, give yourself 24 hours. Often you change it, right? And I think this person wouldn't have sent it to me. I know this person very well.
Beth, you were a great district governor.
Thank you,
Thank you
Basil.
for your service.
Thank you.
And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Basil. Thank you.
Oh, hi, Beth. How are you?
I'm fine, Migmar. How are you?
Oh, good, good, good. Thanks for your presentation. It was excellent.
Thank you.
So many learning points there. I just want to know, as a new club in Toronto Tibetan,
Yep.
what's Rotary's expectation regarding? I mean, I like your point that if the meeting has a rationale to be held or it is needed, that question is very interesting, and I'd really like that. And I just want to know the Rotary's like a meeting. Is there any set rules in the Rotary like that you should meet every week or every month, or is like autonomy that like you express, which is I like it also.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure that this could be a topic of conversation when you people are in Niagara
Yeah.
on the lake. But I mean, whether there's a rule or not, there's an expectation that as a club, you're going to meet with some frequency,
All right, sure.
right? And you know, over my years in Rotary and certainly my year as district governor, many clubs were experimenting. You know, where they always going to meet once a week, where they're always going to meet at the same day and the same time. As dynamics changed, and I think we all have seen, I would call it an unintended consequence of the pandemic, that we're just not getting the numbers out to meetings that we used to. Like when I was club president, we had 132 people, 132 members. And, you know, at a meeting last Friday where, you know, we were celebrating International Women's Day and we had Nisi there and some other women from neighboring clubs, we still only had like 58 members. So I think it's a conversation you can have probably when you're together in Niagara on the Lake, because I don't think you're alone in dealing with this question. But I think it's also up to you with your club to decide with what frequency you meet and when do you meet and where do you meet, and you know, do we do the same time every week or do we switch it up every once in a while, right? When do we have a social? When do we have, you know, a business meeting? Sometimes you're going to have a club forum. There's an issue that's come forward that everybody wants to talk about. So it will vary.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome.
All right, Beth, I get the honor of thanking you tonight.
Where are you, Nisi?
I'm over here at my
Oh,
house.
there you are.
Beth,
I got a whole screen of faces.
Beth, thank you so much for being here tonight with us and sharing your reflections with us tonight, the lessons learned, the challenges, and the moments that made it all worthwhile. It's incredibly valuable to all of us. Leadership in Rotary is such a journey, and you've given us a wonderful reminder of the impact and dedicated the president can have on their club and their community. I love the engage or the attraction, the engage, and the retention.
Those are key, Nisi.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. On behalf of everyone here tonight in the district, we want to thank you for your time, your honesty, and for continuing to inspire the next group of Rotary leaders coming in. The district will be making a $200 donation in your name to the Rotary Foundation. We truly appreciate you being here with us tonight. Can we all give Beth a round of applause?
Well, thank you. It was great to be with you tonight. Great to present, and I hope you take away some valuable learning.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Beth.
Beth.
So much appreciated.
Welcome, Liz.
Thank you, Beth.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Beth.
Take care.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Same to you.
You.